Hey everybody, this is Miranda here. I am with a beloved soul brother of mine, one of my favorite people on this planet, our beloved Bearheart. Who's been leading all of our ceremonies for the most part for Anarchapulco for the last, I feel like 4 or 5 years or something like that. He leads all of our staff retreats. He has really been kind of both the grounding force and a catalyst for blast off for many people in the community. I do want to tell a little bit about my story about how I met Bearheart and the first time I saw him, and then I'll bring him in to, you know, share his thoughts on that. So I had heard of Bearheart, and this is kind of funny, but I had heard of Bearheart when we were planning, I think it was the 2023 event, maybe, or 2022, one of those 2 anyway. He was coming to the staff retreat, and he was gonna be hosting um, other retreats within Anarchapulco. And I remember when I was adding him to the website as one of the people involved, I was like, "Bearheart? Who calls themselves Bearheart? That's kinda cheesy." I didn't have the best experience with, um people who filled those roles, and I wanna talk to him about the difference between shaman and medicine person, but I didn't have the best experiences, we'll say, so far. I'd had a pretty traumatic bufo experience previously, and I wasn't convinced that people that lead ceremonies were the best way to partake with certain medicines, right? And when I was like, okay." But then when we got to the staff retreat, we were sitting there, we were eating, and I just see him just sitting there completely by himself like this, just looking at the ocean. And I was like, "Who is that?" Somebody else was like, "That's gotta be Bearheart." And I was like, okay, maybe it's not so cheesy. And you came up and you sat directly across from me, and I immediately started trauma dumping on you about my terrible experience. And you told me about what you would have done differently with the medicine that I had worked with. And it got gears turning, and I was really interested in it. And then within 2 days, I was on the beach with you for probably about 3 hours, trauma dumping my experience and why I needed, why I felt called to medicines and my issues with my relationship at the time and all of those things. But what I found in that experience, and I did not end up partaking in any medicine that year, was that just a conversation with Bearheart is medicine. And then beyond that, the best description I ever heard somebody say of him was just somebody random in Anarchapulco. They said, "I was just sitting at Anarchapulco, just minding my own business, and all of a sudden I felt this calm wash over me. And I turn around, and there's this big, bald, bearded, tattooed guy who most people would see and be like, wow, he's intense." But you really do wash the world with that sort of calm, and you really do hold that space. So I first want to say, Bearheart, thank you for being in my life. Um, how are you today? How are things?
Lovely. Thank you for introducing me in such a beautiful way and sharing one of the stories and memories that we have with each other. It was a beautiful moment to be able to meet, and every other moment after that that we've shared with each other in my heart has been just as beautiful.
Yeah. Well, I gotta fully disclose to everybody that Bearheart made me cry on my birthday this year. But how he did it was he had mentioned the fact that a big part of why he comes back to Anarchapulco every year is to see my progress. I can't go to Bearheart, as all of you know. I can't go anywhere outside of Mexico. And that really touched me. And I want to use that kind of story to segue into my first question of you had said that I'm a medicine woman in your eyes already. And I'm not, administering ceremonies to people or anything of that nature, but I've been told that by people. I've been told by people you should be a shaman. And so I want to know from you, from the bottom of your heart, what is the difference between a medicine person and someone who calls themselves a shaman?
Mm, that's such a good question, and I can only come about it from the real and raw way that I understand how to navigate this reality with you. So, is this a space for like the capital T truth?
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to pull out of out
Mm.
here. Yeah.
The way that I would explain it is, and the funny thing about the word shaman, or, um, traveled all around the world. And since the inception of me helping people, I've always had people say, "You're like the real shaman." And I say, "Thank you for what you're trying to say, but I don't consider myself a shaman." And then when I'm in with the Mexica elders and grandmothers in Mexico, or I'm in the Sacred Valley in Peru, and all the quote unquote shaman say, "You are the real shaman." And I'll say, "No, I'm not a shaman. I'm a brother. I'm a brother to the world, and I have medicine to be able to offer. And just like you are a sister to the world, you have medicine to offer. It maybe doesn't have to do with entheogens right now, but the way in which that you have presence, the way in which you've lived life, your walked experience has medicine written all over it. And just like how you were one that came to ask me of support, how many people are asking you to support them in their daily lives, different things that they're moving through. And that's how we know who is a real medicine person. It's not the person who calls themselves a medicine person, it's the person that naturally, through their own lived walk, has a specific amount of, call it good vibes, call it medicine, call it ways in which to be able to be of service. That's the distinction for me when I think of somebody that is actually of service and doing so from a perspective of humility. We can find medicine in so many different ways. And that is the very truth. You are a medicine woman in my eyes because you offer medicine every day, all day, in all the ways that you know how. And nobody needs to motivate you to do so. It's naturally coming through you. Nobody can actually give you that position, and nobody could take it away when it's pure. So let's get into the word little shaman just a little bit more. As people were saying that I was shaman and I was psychic and I was the epitome of the grounded, safe masculine, all these different terms. What I came to find out was, okay, so if you're calling me all these things, if all these people which a lot of people in the world think that those people are the ones that they know what they're doing, and those people are the ones who say that I'm the real shaman. Whenever I would go around other real shaman, no matter what tribe it was, um, no matter what the circle or the tribe or the entity was, whoever was in the space of shaman was not living a life of full integrity. The women, you could tell, did not feel safe with them. You can tell the children were not soft and cordial and playful with them. And so what I started to understand was that whoever people think are shaman, and there may be people who claim the name shaman who live in integrity. I haven't found one. I've found people that claim the name shaman to be on their high horse, to put themselves up on a pedestal, to promise people that they're the end all be all that's going to help them, and they know the way, and they know this, and they know that, and they could see it all. I don't get down with that. And at least, especially for myself. I don't operate that way because I don't know it all. If even in the slightest, I consider myself a brother to the world because I am a safe space. And I create a very safe space for the women and children to never have to look over their shoulder, for innocence, never have to look over its shoulder, and also be able to train men to become stronger pillars of love, freedom, safety, and truth. And so with that, another reason why I claim to be a brother of the world and not one of the other wonderful terms that I get called every day is because when a true brother shows up, everyone's taken care of. Nobody has to worry. Everyone knows that they're safe. Everyone knows that they can come to them and have whatever conversation necessary. They know that when they go to a brother, not a shaman, the brother's going to tell them the truth. They're going to say, I have no idea how to help you, but let me know what's happening and let me see and let me feel and let me speak to Great Spirit and ask what is actually necessary for this. Because the majority of the time it's presence. It's not actually filling people up with a bunch of entheogenic medicines. Some people are not ready for that. And some people, pharmacologically, it could be very dangerous for them to go into these deeper spaces of medicine, or what we call medicine. So, to answer your question fully, because I think it's one that gets thrown around a lot, I do not consider myself a shaman, even though the real shamans consider me a real shaman. And what I think that that means for people is that they are familiar with being behind the veil, and that I am. I am extremely familiar with what happens in the entheogenic spaces times many, many, many thousands. I look at this more so of collecting a lot of data for the worldwide family instead of thinking I'm some healer. I want to be able to gather enough data to figure out the best and most effective and efficient ways to utilize some of the practices. I have been through many, many, many initiations in all different types of ways. My life was based around initiations from the start of my memory. Some of them were healthy, some of them were very traumatic. But it was one where I was being taught primarily to be uh, to be a protector and to be one that will create the safest spaces not only for my family, but if I convince myself that everyone in the world is my family, well, then I'm a brother to everybody. So that is who I am. That is how I navigate. That's the concept in my mind. When somebody says shaman, I say, thank you for what you think that means. But unless you've been around a lot of shamans, quote unquote shamans, you'll actually see that that word is completely obsolete now. There are it just is what it is. When you've been behind the veil many thousands of times and when you've witnessed on top of that many, many thousands of experiences, I think that's where if somebody is, in my mind, they consider themselves or are being considered a brother of medicine, man of medicine, woman of medicine, it's because we've gone the distance. And we've gone the distance to be able to become the medicine instead of use, take, do the medicine, with even with those linguistics, if that makes sense. And so when that happens and when that takes place and we embody the medicine to become the medicine, you know what else becomes a medicine? People that understand computers, people that understand how to do marketing, people that
Right.
understand how to do business, people that understand how to just simply be with someone and hold their hand maybe, right? It's like there's so many forms of medicine, there's so much that we can offer to our brothers and sisters, and from the way that I understand it is that if we take the labels away and we just show up and fully show up, the community around us will consider us the medicine man and medicine woman because they've been with us. They've gone through death and rebirth with us. They also know what we are like when it's not the medicine space, when we're just there having a barbecue or we're shooting the shit and looking at the ocean with each other or learning from you and doing all the aerial acrobats and all the ways that we can just be family with each other. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to help grow a very large family all around the world, which has already taken off for many, 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 many moons. And I'm just going to keep doing what works and asking my family, our family, to hold me accountable, to be able to see my blind spots when I can't because I am behind the veil so much and so many eyes are on me to the sort of like do the thing. Where flip that on everybody real quick and I say, I'm not here to do any type of thing. I'm not a monkey that people can just throw some food at or throw some motivation towards, and then I'm gonna think that I'm a good guy because I can help. I want to be able to solidify a family and community like it's never even been written about. Part of that is the healing ways. Part of that is training mind, body, and spirit. Part of that is being there when the children are born. Part of that is being there when the elders or when our brothers and sisters leave their breath in this reality. Part of that is when they go through their death and rebirth, and I get to witness absolute incredible miracles day in and day out. That is because I'm trusted. I have never done any kind of advertising. I have never done any kind of reach out to try to get people to understand who I am and how I do it. I've never once put any of the work that I do on any kind of social media, and I am still called and looked at as a dear beloved medicine brother to many thousands around the world. So for me, that's how I would explain it. You are a sister and a woman of medicine because you are a sister and woman of medicine. That is just what it is. You can't change that even if you wanted to. And neither could I.
Right.
Us staying in alignment, us making sure that we continue to move forward with each other, me especially included, it takes us. It's not, I could be on the mountain in front of the fire like I have been for many, 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 many moons, or I can bring that to the family and just bring the fire. And so that's what I've been requested of for the worldwide family is Bear. I get asked and told all the time, we know you're by the fire. We know you're in the thick of it with everybody day in and day out. When are you going to come off the mountain? When are you going to bring that fire to the rest of the world? And so this is a part of that. So thank you for creating the space.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for taking the time to do it. Cause yeah, and it's interesting that you don't do a lot of advertising and all of that, but, like, for me, my motivation in doing these interviews and starting this podcast that I've started is I know so many incredible people like yourself, and, like, if I had a dollar for every time I left a conversation with a beloved person, it was like, "Man, I shoulda recorded that," like, because
Mm,
it's not about doing the podcast to make money for me, it's about there are just some conversations that if the right person were to witness that conversation down the line, it might change everything for them, right? Like, just like that conversation I had with you that day on the beach in which, like, I just trauma dumped, and you really got onto a level with me that in my situation as a fugitive and all these things, I don't very often feel genuinely seen by people. A lot of people witness my story, a lot of people support me, but most people do not have any idea what it's like to exist as me, in a similar situation. And you were able to level with me on a way that was really unique. And it's interesting, um, the brother terminology, because I was talking to my friend the other day about the whole shaman versus now. We know this guy that's a shaman that, says, oh, you can't be a shaman because you need to, some hypocritical behavior that guy engages in, but he's a shaman, but like this guy isn't. And it's like, and I had told him, like, the reason that I, for example, love Bearheart so much is Bearheart's not here like, I'm going to bestow this thing on you. He's just there while you're going through your process, be it with medicine, be it just like, vision quest type stuff where no entheogens are involved. But he is just there, one, bearing witness to, and two, holding the container, right? Because you see people at their most vulnerable, right? Like, I have had, several ceremonies with you, and at the beginning of all of them, you always say something along the lines of, like, you will not feel my hands on you unless you are going to do something that's going to hurt yourself. You might hear me play music, you might hear me do this, but, like, it was so different from my first experience with that particular medicine in which the shaman, was also himself taking it, and then he was, like, grabbing my feet and then pretending like he was purging demons by vomiting into a bucket, like, I felt unsafe there. Or when I looked the other man that was leading the ceremony in the eye and I made eye contact with him, and Otak, whoever, said in my head, he's dying. He'll be dead within 3 months. And he did, you know? You really, my, those bad experiences combined with the experiences I've had with you have told me that absolutely having somebody to walk through that fire with you is essential for the quality of these sorts of experiences, because there are a lot of people out there. I mean, I I was driving around, like, Cancun area in Tulum, and there's signs all over the place that say, literal billboards that say, "Do ayahuasca, do bufo, come do combo." And I'm just like, man, I just couldn't imagine just finding a billboard and just going to somebody, like, there are very few people in this world that I trust to care for me in those states, right? You're one of them. Piazza, who I'm interviewing next, is one of them, and Vistara is maybe another one. And other than that, like, and it's not like there aren't other people out there, right? But when you've already, for me, that's the trifecta, you know, like I've got the brother, the sister, and the mom.
That's right.
Like, what else do I need, right? You know?
All devout, all deep devout students to the ways, not the story behind it,
Right,
right?
right. Um, so I think that's super beautiful, and that was a big part of why I wanted to do this interview is because there is a lot of this, like, almost pretentious vibe to a lot of these people, you know? Um, so
I can
for
speak why.
what?
I can speak why, like
Tell
why
me.
that happens. Because some people that are watching this may think like, well, I wonder why that does happen. In working in these ways, there are loads of transformation that takes place in very, very short periods of time. There are people who are quite literally dying that come out of it and have no more illness. There are people that feel as though they, if something doesn't work to where it's so visceral, there's no way they can deny it, they may kill themselves the next day. And so when they have these transformational experiences, they at times, because there's such a thin line and in that space, they automatically assume it's the medicine person or the facilitator that did it, instead of giving credit. For me, the way I see it is giving credit to pure love, God, goddess, and the medicine itself that works through God is just the way that my mind sees it. And so what takes place is that after, the first 10 times people are on their hands and knees, thank you, you did this, oh my gosh. People are like, okay, yeah, it's really the medicine, it's the medicine. And then it seems like once people get to that like 50 really powerful experiences, they start to believe it. And they start to think, oh yeah, I am that person.
Right, 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 right.
And then the God complex sets in, because they've also, if they've been around the medicine long enough, the medicine has shown them that we are God. There is a part of us, right? The whole part of the Bible that says that the truth is within. The God is not outside, the God is within you. Like that is all very, very true. We have that essence inside of us. However, that doesn't mean that we are God from that sense. And then what takes place time and time again, no matter if it's a woman or a man, they start to believe the juice, and then they start to sip the juice, and then they start to associate themselves as that juice, and then they fall off. They get spun out in their brain. They cannot relate to anyone else around them. And the majority of the time, it's at that place where there's some type of out of alignment that takes place. And it's just up, it's up to a specific amount of people that may be close to that person to reel them back, which a lot of times doesn't happen. And so, and I speak that with a lot of sincerity, that just like doctors, they get into the medical field because they want to help. Usually they want to help so bad because there was a time in life where they didn't feel like they were helped. It's the same thing when it comes to people that are in the medicine spaces, the true medicine spaces. They see that they can help, which they thought they could have never helped before. Now they see they can help, and they may have gotten help themselves. But the hard part in that is when they associate themselves as God, playing God, and that turns into a huge misalignment, and that feeds over into the medicine space, which is where you see so many people that again create so many stories of who they are, the ways in which they navigate, and doing the whole drama show in the middle of ceremony, poking and prodding and doing all the things. It is 100% of the time unnecessary to get themselves involved with somebody else. They could be there to witness the space. They could be there to make sure you're safe, mind, body, and spirit. But if they go into the poking and prodding without permission of like a deeper hands-on healing, it, they it's completely unnecessary. There's no way they could be stronger than Otak. There's no way they could understand what's happening with somebody more than ayahuasca. There's no way they could have the internal knowledge of what this person needs like ongos can. Like there's no way they can. And if the human thinks that they can, they've got too many stories wrapped up in their mind. If they associate themselves as the teacher's assistant instead of the teacher, they will. And for any medicine people that are listening to this right now that say, "Oh, what does Bearheart know?" Get to many thousands of data points. As soon as you're at those thousands of data points, and if you're still grounded and rooted, you will know exactly what I'm saying, and it will ring true every single time. It's the only way to stay grounded in this work is to remain the forever student and the humble student. And when somebody says, "Oh, thank you, Bearheart, you are God, you are this, you are that," and the first thing I say is nope, that gives to the one and only High Holy One. That's the one. I'm just doing my best to be a good student. If it is anything different than that, there will be a misalignment there, and that will eventually end up popping out in times where somebody needs more grounded and rooted than fairy airy.
Right, I agree with that
With a lot
completely.
of love, I speak this, with a lot of love and care and understanding. I've just seen too many of my brothers and sisters that became ungrounded and unrooted because they allowed themselves to feed off of the projections and stories that everyone was telling them instead of staying humble.
You know, I agree there's a lot to that because 'cause I've worked with, both extremes of this option, right? And, like, the thing that I learned, especially with my last experience, is you're right, like, the brother or sister in medicine, they can provide things to make it more comfortable and the safe space and all of that, but, like, you very rarely know what's going to happen, like in my last experience, the medicine woman I did it with, she did not expect me to take the rose petals she just sprinkled on me for the vibe. She did not expect me to tear those to shreds and rub them all over myself to reprogram my body. And neither of us went into that thinking like, I had ovarian cyst pain. I was throbbing for months and months. That stopped that day. I've lost 6 kilos since that day because I had this conversation with Otak, with whoever, where it told me, like, it was okay for you to take up more space for a while, but you don't need to take up more space to be seen, you know? And I
Mm,
can definitely see how when you come out of that, like, the person that facilitates that with you, be it Piazza or whoever, you come out with a lot of love there, especially if there's years of experience. Like
correct.
for me, with both you and Piazza, I had had years of prior experience before I worked with you in any sort of entheogenic way. And it does, most people are so grateful for any sort of relief, they are going to see you as a god. And it is, I think probably for a medicine person, the most challenging thing that I can see is keeping that grounded of remembering, you know, I'm just here making the connection and holding the space,
Yeah.
like
Yes.
connecting the source to the person and letting them do the work with the person. And you're right, there are people that go into these things and they want to kill themselves the next day. And there are people that go into these things and they completely rewire their life, like I've done. And so it also, you do a good job of this, and so does Piazza, of taking the gratitude and also reminding the person
Them.
you had to be strong enough to see what was coming and to know how to respond to it because some of these medicines are very intense.
Yes. And
Even go ahead.
I don't want to cut you off, but yeah, you're right. They can be very intense and they can have a lot of sensation that's flowing inside of us. And having somebody that has been witness to thousands and thousands of experiences creates like just like a midwife. A midwife that has a couple experiences doesn't know the variables. A midwife that's been around thousands of births, they understand the variables of what normal is and different shades of normal. Right. And then if there is a true emergency, I think it's extremely important to have the certification and the training to make sure that we can step in at that time in whatever capacity. Um, You
That's a
know,
good analogy, like a spiritual midwife.
it really is. I've always said spiritual janitor
Okay, I
because
like that too. Yeah.
because it what really takes place is that I'm just cleaning up a bunch of people's shit and throw up the majority of the time. And, when people ask me, they're like, "Oh, it's so," like they put the name shaman or medicine person up on like a pedestal. And what I do my best to really like send home to people who put medicine people on a pedestal is that they have no idea it is one of the hardest ways of being of service and staying grounded yourself. You are around a lot of negative energy. You are around a lot of projection. You are around a lot, especially if people are doing the deeper work themselves. They themselves are going through a lot of death and rebirth and trying to figure out all the new ways in which the uploads and downloads are asking of them. A lot of medicine people eventually end up wanting to commit suicide because they don't feel like they can connect to anybody else. They feel like whatever experiences they have had, nobody else has had those experiences that are around them. And how do they relate? As a human animal, we want to be relatable. And it's one of the reasons why I take myself off the pedestal immediately and why I try to learn so many languages, even if it's only to the point of like a 4 or 5 year old. Because when you take yourself off the pedestal, when you know truly a part of what these people will be going through in either the clarity and or potentially confusion, we get to be grounded enough to be able to stay steady with them, and not just for that experience, but days, weeks, months, years after, like that I do. That is not something that uh, anyone in their right mind, in my opinion, nobody in their right mind would ever want to be a shaman. It really is the hardest on the brain to continue to be relatable to people that you love and actually care about, unless you can ground it in, and unless you can again make it relatable to the ones that do not know what you've been through. That's really difficult for people. It's the same reason why doctors end up committing suicide and drinking themselves to death. Same thing with therapists. Same thing with psychologists. They have the highest death rate. They're the ones who are helping everybody else to try to feel better, but they have the highest death rate. They have the highest point of alcoholism and drug abuse. They are the ones who are the most depressed. And so
Right.
when the shamans, when the medicine people, and I get it all the time, Bear, when did you know you wanted to be a shaman? I never want to be a shaman. Will never want to be the shaman. I never in a million years could have imagined that I would have been in service to anyone other than my blood family. I know what it is, and I knew how to relate to you and your story, because I've also been one that was on the run. I've also been one that had trouble with the law, and for what I felt was good reason, but the law doesn't feel that way. Right. So when people say, like, you wanted to be a medicine man and how long, and I've been involved in medicine since I was 8 years old from some capacity, never did I think that I wanted to be a medicine man. All I ever wanted in the world was to be able to be a safe space for people to be better. And if I'm a brother, if medicine is that side, I get to understand the medicine ways because I'm a brother. If I'm a true brother, I'm going to make sure everyone's safe. So then, of course, I'm going to train other men and women to make sure everyone else is safe as well. If I'm a true brother, I'm going to be there in those capacities. I'll be there to make sure that the farm is going. I'll be there to make sure that the food is growing. I'll be there to make sure that the animal husbandry is growing. I'll be there at the times of the weddings and at the times of the funerals because I'm a brother. A medicine man and a shaman isn't going to be there for all those things.
Right.
So again, for me, I'm a humble brother bringing the skills and tools that I have learned from people that I feel are very respectable, that actually live the way, breathe the way, feel the way, are the way, not just the weekend warriors that think that they can put a bunch of medicine in front of somebody, and then the big exciting show is going to happen. And it's, you know, thinking that they did something. It doesn't vibe with me. I want to build such stronger relationships. I wanna make sure that we know that we are family after that and for long time and periods after as well. That's really where I'm coming
Well, I
from.
want to bring your human design into this a little. You might have noticed I looked over here. It's because I pulled up your chart, which I should have asked for that information sooner. Anybody that knows me knows I'm a nerd for human design because it is the best way to understand people around you and to understand yourself. And there's a few things you said throughout this conversation, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that's in his design. It's literally in your design. First off, you said people saying, "Bear, come down off the mountain, come down off the mountain." Well, there's a terminology in human design for people who have a 6-line profile. Yours is 4-6. You're the opportunistic role model, right? Anybody who has a 6, either conscious, the first number is conscious, the second number is unconscious. Anybody who has a 6 goes through this. I'm 6 too. I'm a role model hermit. So it's exaggerated in me. But anybody who's the 6 line, first 30 years of their life, chaos. They're 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 learning shit, they're making mistakes, they are having they are making big mistakes, and in some cases, they won't survive it, you almost lose your life repeatedly, and then when you hit 30, you go up on the roof. They call it going up on the roof. And that is where you kind of withdraw. You go up on the roof, you stop making so many mistakes, but you start assessing everything. You start putting the puzzle pieces together, right? And then at 50, you emerge as the role model. Anybody with the 6 line in their profile line has that. You have that, but you also have that combined with the 4, which is opportunistic. So you are who you are is the people that you connect with. This is your literally you building this family that is written within your human design.
It's in every cell of me, I can't change it.
Well, exactly. And the beauty of human design is, and the thing that I love about it is if you learn your human design and for some people, for some, I'll say lucky people like you are one of the people because I've looked at your chart quite a bit. You embody your chart to the fullest. And the way to be successful from a human design standpoint, no matter who you are, is to learn who you are and to honor that. And you
Mhm,
naturally do that. You're a generator and you have, limitless amounts of energy for stuff that you're excited for. Your
mhm,
sacral authority, which means when you make decisions, you probably follow the uh-huh or uh-uh that comes out of your sacral.
mhm.
That is how you should make decisions, like all of these things, your defined ego. So when you make a promise, you fucking keep it. You're
Right.
defined in your environment center, so you are who you are no matter where you are. But then above, your thinking, your perception, and your way of communicating with the world changes based off of your environment. And
Mhm.
so, like, I think it's beautiful, and I just wanted to outline that because this is one of the
Thank
things that I wanted to try to bring into this conversation is the more we can find ways to embody just the way that we were designed, that energy that we're imprinted with at birth, the higher of an impact that we have. And so I just wanted to share a little bit with that with you and
you.
segue.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
for that medicine, 'cause that is a huge part of medicine is allowing the reflection to come back for somebody to understand themselves so much more and clearly.
Right.
Right, now you couple that, like human design, with also a lot of the different healing work with potentially some entheogenic work that can help connect all the dots. There's another trifecta, right? These are mutually they're synergistic ways to be able to gain more clarity and understanding that you are the healer within.
Right.
There's no healer for you. You're the healer. You're the healer
Exactly.
of you. Sometimes we just get to reflect that to each other and remind each other, you are already that one. Maybe I may be the reflection for a little bit more clarity of how you are that one, but you have always been that one. There's nobody else that can give you that position or take it away. It's up to you or me or every individual to embody it.
Yeah. Do you have the confidence and the strength to just be who you were here to be? Because the reality is like, there's no perfect human design out there. They're all fucking cool in some way. Like my partner, he's a reflector and he's 1% of the population. They all come with their challenges, they all come with their strengths, but like I like to say we're all a soup of energy. And if we understand what's in our soup, we can understand, why we show up the way we do in that world. And for me, it's my dream long term, and I know it's going to happen, is I want to bring circus retreats, entheogenic retreats, and human design all in one because that is where I've personally found my strength is like for me, I found human design at the point where I was heading towards my hermit phase and I was asking myself, okay, is this a trauma response? Or is this what I'm meant to be doing? And then to find out that it is literally my role to retreat into this hermit phase. And it's okay to say no to social things that are just people sitting around and talking for the sake of, you know, if I, the thing with generators is if you're not a fuck yes, you're a fuck no,
Yeah.
and if you can honor that, you can be happy in this world. So yeah, I wanted to bring that in. I have a question that kind of segues from that and kind of doesn't. I was poking a little fun at the beginning, like who calls themselves Bearheart? But I want to know. I know why you're called Bearheart because anybody who's hugged you knows why. But how did you settle on Bearheart? Where did that come from?
So the easiest way, because it's a multifaceted um, explanation of sorts. I was always a bear. My brother was the brown bear, and I was the white bear. And um, from the sense of understanding like the animal of the bear. However, to truly embody the name of bear heart or the heart of the bear, that has to be earned. There is nobody that can give you that name. There is no, and I get it all the time. What chief of what tribe gave you that name that you embody so strongly? I say, first of all, there is no chief in any tribe that can give me that name. You have to earn that through your entire life walked. So I've always been the bear. It wasn't until my brother was murdered and I chose forgiveness and understanding instead of retaliation and vengeance. And that was 12 years ago. So the story goes quite deep. However, let me shoot it and pinpoint it like a well-fletched arrow. So I've had many names. I've earned many names. And my family called me many different names. So I've always been one of many names. And none of those names, monikers, whatever you want to call them, none of them actually reign true into my heart. And there was a ceremony that was happening in Mexico and with the teacher of Iboga. And I went into Iboga in a 3-day flood dose with the primary understanding and hope to touch in with the ancestors and to fully understand what the truest embodiment of when somebody says, "What's your name?" Right? Like, what is your name? My given name, the one that my mother and my father gave me, is way more powerful than Bearheart. So when people say Bearheart's a really strong name, you got to live up to that one, I'm like, look, Bearheart, that's an easy one for me. So in this experience, in this 3-day flood dose, part of that was bringing me back to a past life. And again, I know these are all stories, but sometimes the stories just feel so more real than what this experience is. And it was another life that I was a woman and I was in some kind of an indigenous tribe. There was something that was taking place that was hurting the tribe. And this woman was being crowned as the leader, the one who was going to make the final judgment of whether it was famine, sickness, war, whatever it was. The woman was being crowned and she was getting the name of the heart of the bear, Corazón del Oso. And so as that was coming through, it's like she is there on her knees and all of her tribe, and she's crying. She doesn't actually want the position. but she knows she needs to take the position. She needs to stand in that strength. And so, all at the same time, that memory and vision is taking place. And then you have all of my ancestors from my brother, my cousin, and everyone that's died, all the way through all of my great aunts and uncles. I was raised with all of the majority of all of my great grandparents, and then all the way back. So on one side is all of my ancestors, and I can see them all. I can smell them all. I know they're all right there. And on the left side of me is the essence and the voice of Iboga and how it was coming out. And all at the same time, while the female in the vision is being crowned, everyone's voice happens and starts echoing all at the same time. You are, and have always been bear heart. And then it goes again, bear heart. And then it comes in all different languages. And so it's the essence of the bareness of the heart. It doesn't have to do with the big and strong and powerful and all of that, which obviously I am, but I don't utilize that unless absolutely necessary. It is being such a bare heart, BARE. It's the openness of my heart that truly is the essence of what is needed from me in this world. So that is where Bearheart comes from, is that my heart is cracked wide open and I don't care who's around. You know that just as much as anyone else who knows me. Who you got is who you got. And I'm going to come with all of the essence that's inside of me the best way that I know how. So that is the essence of Bear Heart, or the bare-hearted man, or the heart of.
Yeah, that makes sense to me because all I can think about as you're talking about this is, and anybody that knows you and that's hugged you knows what it feels like to hug you. And it does feel like you're almost like it's a hug, right? And you're a big guy, it's a good hug. But there's also like, you're right, the BARE heart. You're there and it's like this when you're hugging. And it's just, I think the greatest medicine that I've personally gotten from you is that, like, and I seek you out at Anarchapulco. It's the 1 week a year where I get to see you quite a bit, and I find you
Me too.
at least every day, at least a couple times a day, and just the hug, like, because it is actual medicine.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Can I touch on one last part of it?
Yeah.
So again, right, the names, I've been called many names. Bearheart is the one that's most accurate, in my opinion, for the way that my energy shows up. However, my given name, which is, where my name comes from, is the Sicilian side of my family. Frank Sebastian Saputo, which is just the derivative of Francesco Sebastiano Saputo. What that name means, and what I've done my best to live up to, Francesco is the free man. Sebastiano is the one who is revered. And Saputo means the wise man. So it's the free man who is revered and wise. That is what I was given by my family. That's a hard name as a child to be able to live up to, where you have no idea what reverence truly is. You have no idea what being a free man truly is. And you definitely don't know what wisdom is at that age. So I am still doing my best to feel confident enough, where there are a lot of people in the world that say, of course, that's your name. Of course, you're the free man who's revered and wise. But that's different. But if I'm taking myself off the pedestal and I'm coming down to the ground with everybody,
That's difficult.
it's easier to be Bearheart. It
Right.
is, it's easier to be the heart of the bear because it comes so natural. Stepping into the free man who is revered and wise, maybe that's at the 50 mark. Maybe at 50,
Yeah.
which is where the human design comes in, where I really become the mentor of sorts. Maybe that's when it'll be easier for me to fully embody my true given name.
I hadn't thought about that because, most people that follow me, they know I've gone by some names, right? A lot of people knew me as Lily Forrester before the show, and my given name is Miranda Webb. Well, Miranda, from my understanding, the root of that is beautiful, and web is like a weaver of fate, like,
Weaver of beauty.
and that is its own difficult thing to live up to, and I really kind of abandoned that for a couple of years, and I hadn't thought about it until you were talking about it. I didn't regain that side of me until I felt like I actually embodied it, like I didn't see myself as somebody who's physically beautiful or even beautiful completely on the inside. I thought I was damaged. I thought I was broken. And I thought I was an ugly and looked like a teenage boy. And then 30 happened and I hit puberty and, now
Now
I'm
you're not.
like
Now you're
this.
beautiful
Now I feel it,
inside and out.
but it's not like in an egotistical, like I feel like I genuinely like myself. And people have told me like, "Oh, when you get married, because I am engaged, like, are you gonna change your last name?" Fuck no, I'm not, because I love my last name of Webb, and he doesn't want me to anyway, but, like, how cool is it to be, especially as somebody who, I crochet, like, I literally make webs for fun, or the
You are the
aerials.
weaver of beauty.
That's just me being a spider up in the air making my web, so and that's the thing that I love about the people that I found from this community, you, Vistarta, Piazza, Cat, all the people is we're just big mirrors for each other.
Mhm.
And I think that's beautiful. And I want to transition from that to talk about Bambuda because Bambuda is the place where you and I met. That is the place where my healing journey genuinely began. Vistarta she is a surrogate mom. She's almost the exact same age as my mom was, and she is what I wished my mother was. And I want to know because we only have you because we have Vistarta. So, like, how did you and Vistarta link up to become family?
The link was through beautiful sister Macy, and this was like 8 years ago. Was when I first came to Bambuda, and I was there. Macy knew of me from being involved in the medicine and being involved with combo. She was hoping that I would be able to come and educate people on the medicine of combo and be able to offer it there. And so that was the connection point. And when Vistara and I met, like it was respect at first sight. I knew that she was the light of the lighthouse, along with a lot of other help, but she really holds down the point of the light there and has for so long. And she was able to see and respect whatever she felt inside of me. And it was like we both linked to each other as, she looked at me as a mentor for her, and I looked at her as a mentor for me. So we immediately, and then obviously going into being in her prayer and her, going into the yoga that she performs and she offers, and especially the Temescal, I, I, I knew that the fire inside of me was very, very similar to the fire inside of Vistara. And also, what I noticed was that the fire inside of us, you also hold that same fire. So does Kat. So and Piazza and we all hold a very specific flame that when we bring them together, magic happens.
I agree with that. And, I'm definitely a human design nerd, but I pulled up your chart and you and Vistarta, just like me and you, just like me and Kat, you're 8 and 1 together. And the terminology when you combine two human design charts, you make like a baby chart. That is your friendship, relationship, whatever chart, parent, child, you could do it with any relationship. But 8 and 1, the code word for that is have some fun. It means that you complete each other, and then you have this area in which you can experiment together. And what's interesting is y'all are open together sacrally, or
Hmm.
not sacrally, in the root center, which means that's the pressure center. And the lack of definition there is literally about lack of pressure, letting things flow,
Hmm.
and that, in a lot of ways, is what I've seen your connection there to be, and, I think it's beautiful. And I
Thank
just
you.
want to say that.
Thank you. You know, I know, or I should say this, I have learned to learn a lot about people by going into their space that they consider their home or their place of worship or whatever it may be. And also, when we speak of Bambuda and Vistara, and same with Christian and others, but mainly I'll speak of Vistara. The heart that she pours out to everybody that comes through, you feel it there in the trees.
Mhm.
Or at least I'll speak for
Literally, 'cause she
myself.
planted them.
Exactly, exactly, like, I know that we would feel the same way, but I'll speak for myself. I can feel them in the trees, I can feel them in every brick and stone, I can feel them in every granule of sand. All the prayer, all the intention, every tiny little microscopic part of sacred geometry that's within the entirety of the the healing space of Bambuda Holistico has been touched by the purest amount of service and love that I could ever imagine. And so that was another confirmation inside of myself that I was able to see Vistara's heart, the purest part of her heart and mind, just by being there and being very still and calm with the land. So when I am sitting there and I'm calm and I'm by myself, or I don't feel like I'm by myself. I feel like the whole world is with me, but
Right.
I'm there seeming to be by myself. Not only am I navigating and feeling into all the clairvoyance that's part of the part of the tools. I'm seeing all the visions. I'm allowing myself to be there with all the prayer. I'm seeing Ananda being raised, all the different dogs, all the different people, all the different cats, all the different like everything that's naturally come through there. I'm with it and observing it to get closer in that way to understanding Vistara.
I think I think there's something to that, and I know you have been many times with me at this point in the Temazcal, and it's an intense experience, but, like, she embodies this motherly energy, and that space is her womb in which she brings us all in there with her, and then we all come back out, and look at the world differently, and that's part of what I wanted to do with this series of interviews is really highlight both the people that we're bringing together because to segue to the gratitude gathering, which is a big thing, a big exciting thing for me that's happening finally, is I've been harassing Kat for years, like, when are we gonna do just a retreat that's not just right after the conference or right before the conference? When can we have our own container for this? And
Yes.
then this year, I saw you and Piazza working together for, like, the staff, bonding day that we did, and I was like and I already knew in my heart, I was like, "That's gonna be some magic," and then, like, I was like, "Ah, shit." We have to make this container with we need to go back to Bambuda
Hmm.
because Portavirt is beautiful, but it is not the same.
Hmm.
And we have to bring and I know it was, kind of in the beginning we were like, "Oh, we don't know how we fit together and we're figuring it out," but I do feel like it is going to be the best of all worlds,
Hmm.
as far as the retreat is concerned. And I just want to know what your thoughts and feelings and things like that for the gratitude gathering, which for anybody watching is November 22nd to 29th in Playa Barra Vieja outside of Acapulco at Bambuda. Um, what what really sings home for you? What are you excited for with this retreat? Where's your heart at
Hmm.
in all this?
Ooh, thank you. Where's my heart? My heart is here and present. And so my heart's going to be present there. And what feels beautiful, different is that we're bringing a little bit larger of a team together. All right. It's usually Vistara and I that are are leading everything and going through the motions with each other, and we have a I mean, it's darn near fail proof 100% because we've been in it for so many years and dialing what works and what works really well and effectively and efficiently together. But we have Paulo and Piazza that come and being able to offer their medicine in their way. And there's so many skills and tools that they bring to the table. And then all of us coming together, like that, there is no, it will be the most powerful experience yet because it's the one that we're continuing to build upon.
Right.
And so that's how I feel. I feel as though that I'm only in the utmost gratitude. I trust everybody implicitly. You know, I've worked with everybody now at least, if not for many, 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 many years, we've been part of each other's healing for many, many years. And so understanding how we all navigate in the amount of time that we've been in the medicine spaces with each other and personally, there's no other team that I would feel more comfortable with. If there was, I would have recommended another team that I've already developed somewhere else in the world. So the fact that we have such a strong team in so many ways, it will create more of a whole well-rounded experience, to have a little bit more of the feminine energy in different ways and a little bit more of the masculine energy in different ways, and to be able to weave those with a new and evolved essence. And so with that, there's no way that anyone can do what Piazza does other than Piazza. There is no way that anyone can do what Vistara does other than Vistara. There's no way that anyone can fill in how Paolo fills in other than Paolo because of the work and the initiations. He was just here for a big experience and being on the mountain and being with the land for 5, 6 days, no food, allowing himself to be in the deepest form of prayer and coming into who the healer is within. So that's what I see when you said, what do you see? The vision is in this gratitude retreat is yes, we can find gratitude in everything. We can become gratitude. Navigating the healer within, I think, is where the deepest gratitude comes from because that's where the dots are all connected. So when the people that are coming and the brothers and sisters that will be attending this and being participants and being um, in the finding of their own medicine and remembering of their own medicine, that's going to move them forward the rest of their life in so many different ways. It's our job to make sure they have the safe space, mind, body, and spirit. It's our job to make sure there's the least amount of confusion, the most amount of clarity. It's our job to make sure that we hold a pillar of this is family. This isn't just some experience. This isn't just some retreat. They're not retreating from anything. We're tripling down with how much presence we are going to be bringing. The amount of
We're coming
ceremony,
home.
the entheogenic ceremony is a small aspect of it. The majority of the ceremony is going to be coming in so many other ways and facets, which for me is also extremely important that we can have more tools for people to be able to learn and remember and embody instead of just the tools that Bearheart and Vistada have that work very, very well. We have a bigger family. And so instead of people just thinking that Bear and Vistada know it all, which we don't, we're there in our own processes, in our own way of coming clearer and stronger within our own ways of being the medicine. But we're growing the team in a way that is naturally and effortlessly weaving like that beautiful web that we were speaking of that your name represents.
Yeah. And I love that. And also, yeah, the other part of it, half of it's the gratitude, the other part's the gathering. And for me, one of the things I'm actually looking the most forward to is I'll be making Thanksgiving dinner because it is Thanksgiving week, right? And so this isn't gonna be just something, where you abandon your families and go and, do whatever in Mexico. It's gonna be we're going home to Bambuda.
Yes.
We are gathering as a family,
Yes.
even in the Thanksgiving dinner, and we are remembering who we are. Like these Stardust yoga classes are going to make us really sink into who we are. I'll be doing aerial stuff there. Piazza and her trauma release and those things, like that's how I started working with Piazza. Was she saw the series and she was just like, this girl needs some help with her nervous system. Here, let me help you as a service. I'm not asking for money. I just let me help you. And she did, right?
Yes.
Uh, so I'm super excited. I'm super grateful. And I think it's gonna be the most powerful experience we've ever offered. 'Cause people come to Anarchapulco and they're like, my life has been forever changed. And
Mhm.
they do the ceremonies during Anarchapulco or after Anarchapulco. And the beauty of those are like you can kind of do it all at the same time. But I feel like I've always felt there's like this energetic overstimulation. If you're surrounded by
Yes.
hundreds of people,
Yes.
during conferences, there's parties, and
Yes.
then we go in a ceremony, or for the team, we do our retreat before the event. And I think having that container of just drop in, just hang out, have the conversations, eat the amazing food, because also beyond the food that I'm gonna make, the food at Bambuda is amazing. Do the temazcal ceremonies, like so I am so grateful for you and for all of the people that I have met through this process. And I really hope that this is just the first of many gratitude gatherings at Bambuda in the times to come.
Me too. It does bring such a difference without Anarchapulco being there and the alcohol influence and all the things, the party influence. This is like we're going and we're going to be going in together as a family and we're coming out as a family even more clearly. And although that already takes place, now there will be no disturbance in any other kind of a way to fully focus and be aware and attentive on every individual times 10.
Yeah, there's no, for me, doing the staff retreat before, it's like I have my experience. And then it's time to go back to work. Or for, the speakers that come, a lot of them do your ceremonies, and then they go and do their speech, or then they go and host something or their workshop, and like there's going to be a pressure that's just not there.
Correct.
And it's not to say that growth can't happen in the Anarchapulco space. That is the point, like for me, Anarchapulco in many ways saved my life. But to me, this feels like a yes and situation. Like, yes, all of that is what it is. And
Yes.
let's find a way to harvest and evolve and grow. And so, my final question for you is, if you could say anything to somebody who is on the fence of this experience, maybe looking at the price and being like, wow, that feels like a lot. Or maybe I don't want to leave my blood family for a week. If there's one thing you could want them to understand, what would that be
Mm,
about this experience?
that all of that is totally understood. And right before the biggest changes happen in our lives, fear arises, doubt arises. There's like that little tricky one inside of our brain that says, no, it's too much, or no, I don't want to be away from family, or that's totally understandable. And on the opposite side of fear is everything beautiful. And so what I would say is that it's valid to have those concerns. And in reality, for what's going to be taking place for that week, anyone in their right mind would invest 5 times that amount for what they're actually getting from it. And if family was a problem or a concern, I would say bring them too, because there is nothing like familial healing. There's nothing like multi-generational healing that takes place all at the same time. And so if you are called to this, there's going to be very limited spots available. So I don't think that we're going to have enough time to talk to the ones who are second guessing themselves. These always get booked out almost immediately because there's such few spots. So the ones who I will be talking to for this gratitude retreat, an immersion, you already know. If it's a yes, you just get ready because that yes is going to come with a lot of power behind it. And you won't actually know until months afterwards. But I've never one time had anyone out of many, many, many thousands of people that I've worked with. I've never had one person that ever came back to me and said, Bear, I don't feel the investment was worth it. On the contrary. And same thing with people that said, hey, I didn't think that I'd be able to take this much time. They'd say, Bear, every every story I had in my mind of why this wasn't actually the best time, my spirit and my soul knew that I was bullshitting myself. So for those ones that have a quick story and say, nope, this is my time, it is your time. And we'll be there to meet you 1000%. And what we are going to be going through together is something of mega value in
It's
every way.
unable to be quantified, yeah.
In every way. There's no way somebody could put a dollar amount that would actually justify the work. And so what the investment point is what we all felt would be able to be doable for the logistics, making sure the bottom line is taken care of, and to make sure that the people who originally or wouldn't necessarily be able to have one of the higher ticket experiences, this is in that range where we really hope the few people that are going to be able to truly say yes to this within the first day, they'll feel like they already got their investment worth and everything else will be big cherries on top of that. But it's going to
Right.
test you. It will test you. Coming will bring your subconscious to the forefront. Any type of out of alignment stories that are happening inside of you and belief systems that get to be completely reevaluated will be there to be presented to you. So when we're saying yes, especially for the ones that feel the fuck yes, then we'll see you before you know it. And
Right.
Miranda, Listada, Piazza, Paulo, everyone that will be there will be meeting you there fully open hearted, just like family deserves, because you are coming home. You will only truly know that once you're home. You don't have to look over your shoulder whatsoever. And you start to go through some of the experiences to come back into your own internal home, your own internal gnosis, the healer within. From that point forward, there will never be another story of whether or not you're supposed to be moving forward from that internal space. So I say, welcome. And we look forward to being able to be family and praying with each other. I just love to pray with my family in all the ways, in all the languages, with all the cultures. And this is what we're offering is to come back home, maybe for the first time ever. It's what comes from my heart.
My big request for people is to strip your expectations because you might heal physical things you didn't expect to heal. Like, I didn't expect to heal a throbbing, painful ovarian cyst in my last experience. I've healed a wrist issue with you. I remember my wrist started vibrating at the end of it and it hasn't hurt since, you know. You are going to heal things that you don't even see
Correct.
being
Or even know
possible
we're there.
or even know are there, right? Um, for me, the biggest thing that I've gotten out of all these experiences and the thing that echoes through my head every time I have one of these ceremonial experiences is this is why I do this. This is why I do this. It's confirmation of all of the dark things that I've been through. And everybody knows I've been through some dark stuff. Is I did it to get to where I am now. You know, like I'm currently living in my dream apartment. I'm in my dream relationship. I am in Mexico and yeah, I want to get my situation solved legally, but do I want to move there? No, I am lucky enough to have found my forever home, right? Um and yeah, there's going to be unexpected things. Be prepared to feel whatever's trapped inside, whether that's love, anger, happiness, sorrow, or all of it all at once. But, there's that whole saying, what you resist persists, and
Mhm.
learn to let it flow,
100%.
everybody.
100%. Should I give them one of the recipes just to start thinking about?
Yep.
Easy, easy recipe that is when you come back home, you'll start to embody it and then you'll move it forward. Number 1, breathe deep. Number 2,
Mhm.
feel it all, just like Miranda was saying. And number 3, thank
That works.
breathe deep,
What
feel it all, gratitude, no matter what, no matter when, no matter how, medicine, no medicine. If we understand those 3 principles as a recipe, we'll never get lost.
and there's something to it, especially during ceremonies, during temazcals, during entheogenic ceremonies. There's gonna be a point where you're gonna be like, and we get this way in life too, where it's like, "This is too much." And then you remember to breathe, and you remember to say, "Thank you, thank you, thank you," and all those intense feelings, be they dizziness, be they heat, like being baked in the temazcal, it just kinda drifts off. So that yeah, thank you for that. Um, well, Bearheart, I think it's time for us to wrap this up, but I really, really appreciate you taking the time. I already know that the clips that come out of this are gonna be actual gold, and I hope that whoever sees this and knows in their heart, you know what you gotta do. You just have to just show up. We'll
Mhm.
do the rest
That's it.
all together
That's
I
it.
as a family,
That's it.
and, we'll be there with open arms and in a cozy place like Bambuda. I don't know if I've ever slept as good as I do at Bambuda, so
Same. Same. Yeah, we're waiting for y'all. When you know it's your time, commit. We're already committed. We'll be seeing you soon with those open arms, open heart, open mind. We'll be ready for you.
Also, and if anybody has any questions about what specifically to expect at this retreat, what type of medicines, what things you might need to know, uh, just email me at coproducer@anarchapulco.com and I will answer any questions that you have. And if I don't have the answer, I will get the answer from somebody bear or Piazza or Cat or whoever on our team, and we'll make sure that you have all the information you need to be able to make the right choice of whether or not this experience is the right thing to do for you. Anyway, bye.